Hi guys, so in this one we're going to be looking at dividing complex numbers. It's the last thing you need to be able to do, or revision from here. This is the only thing that's going to be on your test in summer, okay? So you can see here, in the real number system, if A over B is equal to C, then A is equal to B times C. All we're saying is that we can rearrange it by multiplying everything by B to get it to the top here, and then A is equal to B times C. We've done that, okay? If this is the same in the complex system, then it's exactly the same sort of idea, okay? Now, the only problem is that there's certain techniques that we have to use in order to do division by a complex number. And there's two particular cases. So we're going to look at the easy one first, and then we're going to look at the not so easy one on the second slide and the third slide. So here what we have is 15 plus 10i divided by 5. So this is just like in normal algebra. Because it's divided by a real number here, there's no imaginary bit on the bottom. If we can find a common factor, so hopefully you can see that there is a number that goes into 15, 10 and 5, and then we divide everything by whatever that common number happens to be. So we're going to divide everything by 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. 10i divided by 5 is 2i. And then 5 divided by 5 is just 1. So that's 3 plus 2i. So let me go through that again. 15, 10 and 5. Okay, because this is just a real number. If there's no complex number on the bottom, it's nice and straightforward. What goes into everything? Well, 5 goes into 15 3 times. 5 goes into 10i twice, i.e. 2i. And then we have the 5 on the bottom. 5 divided by 5 gives us 1. And anything divisible by 1, lads, is just the same. So therefore, it just comes 3 plus 2i. I'll give you another quick example. If you want, suppose we had 18 minus 12i over 6. Then you can see here, again, we're looking. This is a real number. There's no complex number on the bottom. Okay, is there anything that goes into all of these? So 18, 6 and 12i. Hopefully you can spot that everything's divisible by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Then we have 12 or minus 12 divided by 6 is minus 2. Okay, and then what we have then is 6 divided by 6 is 1. So that's 3, minus 2i, that's better. Okay, so what happens if there's a complex number on the bottom? This is where it gets a little bit trickier. So what we have here is 2 plus 11i. Okay, so 2 plus 11i over 2 plus I. Now, this is where we have an issue, because we can't get 2 plus I into both top and bottom here, because you can see here this is 11i, this is 2 plus I. It doesn't quite work. I can't find a number that's going to go into both top and bottom. So what I have to do, the first thing I have to do is work out what the conjugate of the bottom is. So first thing you do, conjugate of the bottom. Okay, and we know bottom even. The conjugate of 2 plus I, remember, for a conjugate all we do is we change the sign of the imaginary number, or the imaginary bit. And the imaginary bit here is plus I, which means that the conjugate is 2 minus I. So that now becomes 2 minus I. So we work out the conjugate. We then multiply top and bottom. Okay, so top and bottom by the conjugate. So whatever we've just done there, we multiply it by. So what we now have is this. We have 2 plus 11i on the top, multiplied by the conjugate, which is 2 minus I, all over 2 plus I over 2 minus I. Okay, so just again, so we multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. The conjugate was 2 minus I here. So that times the conjugate, and that times the conjugate. Now, guys, what's going to happen is, because we multiply by the conjugate, we will get a real number on the bottom, and it's going to collapse it into what we have on the first slide there. Okay, make it nice and straightforward. Now, you can go to the side if you want. So let's go to the side and work both these out separately. So I'm going to do the top, which is 2 plus 11i, multiplied by 2 minus I. And we've done this in the previous exercise. So however you want to do it, guys, smiley face or whatever you want to do. Yeah. And we're going to get this out. So I've got 2 multiplied by 2, which is 4. I then have 11i times minus I, which is minus, because the positive and the negative, minus 11i squared. So that's minus 11i squared. Then I've got the next one, which is 2 times minus I, so that's minus 2i, so minus 2i. And the last one, guys, here is 11i times 2, so that's plus 22i, so plus 22i. Okay, we remember that if we see an I squared is equal to minus 1, so we're going to change this for minus 1, which means that we change the sign in front. So instead of minus 11, this becomes plus 11, so we'll do that next. So we now have 4 plus 11 minus 2i plus 22i, and we're going to collect everything together. So the reals, 4 plus 11, that's 15, minus 2i plus 22i, so minus 2i plus 22i is plus 20i, and we now have done the top. So that's the top, that there is the top, that's that bit there. Okay, now we could go to the side, I'm going to do the bottom. So what we'll do is we'll do the bottom, which is 2 plus I by 2 minus I. And this turns out to be really nice, guys. So again, smiley face this bad boy. And we end up with 2 by 2, so 2 by 2, which is 4. Okay, and then we've got I times minus I, so I times minus I, which means we get minus I squared. And then we're going to end up with, this is the cool bit, we end up with minus 2i here, and then we got this one here gives us plus 2i. And the reason that's cool is because you can see what's going to happen here is that those i's are going to disappear. Remember that I squared turns into a negative 1 from here. Okay, so I squared, which means we have to change the sign here. So we get 4 minus 1, so we get 4 plus 1. So that's going to change to a plus 1 now, so we get 4 plus 1. Minus 2i plus 2i, well, they're just going to cancel out. You can see here that they will disappear. So we end up with, for this particular one, 5. And that's brilliant, because now what we've done is we've reduced it to the problem that we had on the first slide. So we can now say that this here is now equal to, once we've multiplied all that out, it comes 15, do it in blue, 15 plus 20i all over 5. Aha! Is there any common factor in here now? Because we can see here we now have just a real number on the bottom. We've got rid of the complex number. And you can see here 15, 20 and 5 have a common factor of 5. So I'm going to divide everything by 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. Plus 20 divided by 5 is 4. Don't forget the I. And then we have over 1. Because 5 divided by 5 is 1. That means it's 3 plus 4i. And we are done. Okay, one last example. So here we have 15 over I. Okay, so 15 over I. And we're trying to get it of the form P plus QI. So what we're saying is we don't want any sort of, we don't want I on the bottom. We never, ever, lads, want to have imaginary numbers on the bottom. We don't like that in maths. So as soon as you see an imaginary number on the bottom, it means that we need to get rid of it. Now, if we think about it, we can rewrite 15, because 15 is just 15 plus 0i, because it's 15. I have no imaginary part on the top. And on the bottom there, hopefully you can see that what we have here is I have no real part, I have 0 plus I, which means that we have to use the same technique that we used before. So I need to find the conjugate. So I need to find the conjugate first. Conjugate. And if it's 0 plus I, that means the conjugate is going to be 0 minus I. Okay, so it's going to be 0 minus I. Okay, so it's going to be 0 minus I is the conjugate. Remember, all we do is we change the sign. And then I said what we need to do then is we need to multiply both top and bottom by that. So we've got 15. Now, I don't need to put the plus 0i, and I don't really need to use this 0 here, because it's just 15. And what we have then is multiplied by minus I. Okay, because if you think about it, 0 minus I is just minus I. Okay, 15 plus 0i is just 15. So I can just get rid of the zeros in here and multiply them together. Likewise, on the bottom, I will have I. And what I'm multiplying by is minus I again. Okay, again, think about it. 0 plus I is just I. And I'm multiplying by the conjugate, which is 0 minus I, which is just minus I. All I do then is I work it out, guys. I've got minus 15i, because 15 times minus I is minus 15 times I. And then I've got I multiplied by minus I, which is minus I squared. So minus I squared. Okay, remember I squared is equal to negative 1, which means we can change this here for that. Remember, all we do then is we just change the sign in front, which now means this becomes positive. So I now have 15, or sorry, minus 15i over, and it's going to be 1, which means that the answer is minus 15i, and I'm done. Okay, boys, that's the last thing you have to do, and all this is doing is using all of the skills that you've been practicing throughout the few weeks that you've been doing this. You've got another week or so to do, or to practice this before you get a summer test on it. Any issues, lads, I'll see you on a Google or a Zoom call at some stage. Okay?